emoji marbles, which I don't know about you, but that doesn't convince anyone of anything, now does it? I think the worst I did was play a clip from my box video and said something like I don't wanna hear you bring up marbles past when you did this, which crossed that line from shitting on Package's defense of him, to shitting on him for the accusations. Which is where there's an issue. But it's not as bad as my second Josh video. For context, my second video and Josh centered around a video on made by the Litterbox critic, and at some point I planned on covering that entire shit show. In that clip, Litterbox critic got Josh on to tell his side of the story, and I felt a clip of Josh was off.
Oh boy. The femboy, the gross one, the one who couldn't even beat Glass Joe. To be honest, before that fateful day, I did actually see him as somewhat of a friend. We used to do stuff together, play games together, react to things together. Hell, we even hosted Discord sleepovers. And when me and some friends joked about how he has a crush on me, he denies having a crush on me to play along with the joke. And it was meant to be that way. Or at least, I wished. You see, after we dropped from our friend group, I got notified about his crush on me was unironic. At first, I didn't mind it since I thought they said ironic, but then Kenster told me in a VC that it was ironic. And I went back to Kathy's DM and I was like, oh god. Like, I wasn't aware that he had an actual crush on me, but after hearing the news, I was creeped out. Actually creeped out. It's already concerning given the age gap between me and keep in mind, it was a half-decade gap. And after reflecting on the whole thing, me and my friends noticed some red flags. For one, he constantly called me Joshy Poo, which is an odd name to say the least. Two, I remember several instances where he gave me virtual kisses, which are honestly pretty cringeworthy to listen to. And three, he never said anything about wanting to end the joke. If he were to ask us to end a joke, we would have done it. We did it before with the femboy joke, and when he asked us to stop doing it, so we would have definitely done it again if he were to ask.
Now there are a couple issues right off the bat, like how you can tell I went and providing the least charitable interpretation considering I had text in the video sarcastically say sure you were buddy when he said he was creeped out, which was gross of me because I had no evidence to say my suspicion had merit. Never gonna give you up. Never. But the big issue was me covering a situation with a lack of evidence. The claim being made is that Josh flirted with a 12-year-old in Discord calls that have not been archived, nor was I in. Meaning I had no idea what was going on. That's ultimately the issue. I had very little context outside of box making him look insanely bad and just went with what I thought happened as opposed to what I saw happen. Meaning that number one, I had no idea the extent of Josh's involvement. Did he just make jokes or was he doing more? That I didn't know. Number two, how old Josh thought Quanken was. Depending on who you ask you will get different answers. Josh's friend saying Quanken claimed to be Josh's age while Quanken would say Josh thought he was much younger. Number 3, what Josh actually meant by not minding in this context can mean enjoying the flirting, but it can also mean being uncomfortable by it, just not paying much attention to it. All these questions I can't answer because evidence isn't out there. Because I couldn't provide answers to these questions, that means I didn't have good evidence, and pushed a faulty accusation based on at most suspicion and his friends implicating him, which is incredibly reckless. It's safe to say I definitely fucked up during this situation, there's no arguing otherwise. Bias isn't inherently a bad thing, everyone to some extent is biased. When Brackett was making his video on me, he believed I was both this malicious figure who spread extreme narratives about people, and this idiot who was manipulated by two people known as Will G and Quanken. Although Brackett had the opposite problem with Box, where he was unreasonably charitable with him. For an example, when talking about the Tana Sweet situation, he described Box's comment about her not being a pedophile as an overcorrection.
Before we get to that though, Blocky makes the ballsy choice to compare the 2017 Meegs rant to one he made about 5 years later on the user Tana Sweet.
But the main issue I have with it is his part about this freak's fetish art. Something I want you to keep in mind is that this degenerate fuck package is talking about is a full-grown adult and was 25 when package made this video. You'll see why I told you to keep that in mind later.
Tana Sweet's fetish art of focus was with the characters from the Loud House being used for fat fetish material. Blocky, though, how does he take it?
The foolishness of that comment is...
Oh yeah, a clip of Dennis Prager. Can I just write out this response on principle or something?
So a grown-ass adult sexualizing children, both fictional and real, is not a pedophile, you say? Fascinating. Like we're beyond fictional characters, this freak is sexualizing the child actors of some shit Nickelodeon sitcom, and yet package is so charitable.
Overall, it's not too different from what I said earlier, just more aggressive, although this really showcases how bad of an idea it was to bring up a past incident from this long ago to fire back at Box. The point in the newer video was already ripe for the picking. You didn't need to add extra baggage. If anything, this leniency can be better explained as an overcorrection of his previous unsubstantial claims of pedophilia. Believe me, I've had similar instances where such overcorrection harms a point I make. Like sure, criticize him for being too lenient, but even then, it's not like he's defending this material either. He still finds it worrying at least.
Look, I understand that people on DeviantArt have the right to draw fetishes, but at least have some standards when drawing that kind of stuff. Otherwise, certain people will paint you as a sickening individual.
Here's the issue with the overcorrection claim. Box hasn't done anything to correct the Migs rant. The only time he addressed was in an questions and answers video from 2020, which Box implies the opposite of him correcting false pedophile accusations.
My Meegs rant was just stating the obvious and poorly structured.
When he doesn't correct the claim, and says he stated the obvious, what other conclusion am I supposed to come to than him doubling down? It's especially worrying because he acknowledged calling a 12-year-old a pedophile, but not the 14-year-old. So if anything, there's this really unfortunate implication he knows the accusation he made towards Migs was false, but isn't correcting it. Something you'll notice is Brackett leaving out or not talking about clips that make my points a lot more reasonable. Admittedly, I can't blame Brackett for being biased, at least, if he didn't have my Discord. He knew Box way before he knew me and had some form of contact with him. While Brackett did have my Discord, he wasn't interested in communicating with me because he assumed the least charitable interpretation. And I think that's a shame because I can tell these issues come from that, and Brackett's video could have been really insightful had he gone in neutral, because newsflash, this isn't a black and white package good blocky bad drama. We've both messed up. I had both good points and bad points, and even then, a lot of my bad points work on some level. Never gonna give you up.